What's up YouTube? This is the Wisco Boater channel. Welcome to another episode of the Glasspar Tacoma 14 restoration project. Today I'm going to start putting things back on the boat. Paint is all cured and it's time to start making this thing look good again. This is the part of the project of any restoration project that I just absolutely love. The part of fixing things that were wrong, like the cracks in the floor, the transom, fixing that big hole up front, all that. I enjoy doing that too, but it's when you get to this point where hardware starts going back on, the engine's going to go back on, we got to do the steering, the stereo install, the switches, and all the wiring and everything. This is the part I really like. So I'm going to start with putting on the piece of trim that goes across the transom here, comes up the side to the gunnels, and then there's a corner piece that goes on each side, and I'm going to start working my way forward. So we'll put on the steering cable pulleys, and then there's a pass-through flap right there that allows the electrical and engine controls to come through. And yeah, let's start putting this thing back together. Okay, this is the rear trim piece. Fits right in here. And if you watch some of the earlier videos when I was taking things apart, this was kind of bent up. So I got it pretty much straightened back out. I'm not replacing this part because bending aluminum angle is definitely not my specialty, so I'm just going to reuse this. And I've got some pull rivets here, and these might be a little bit small, so I'm just going to try and see if these work. And if they do, we'll keep going. If not, I gotta go to the hardware store. Well, I guess I'm going to the hardware store anyway. The tip there is too big to pull that rivet, and I'm missing the size that I need, so I guess I need to buy a new rivet puller. Well, isn't that fun? All right, well, I'm gonna have to wait a little bit to run to the hardware store because I'm waiting for FedEx to drop off a package that I have to sign for. So in the meantime, before I go to the hardware store to keep working on that piece of transom trim, I'm gonna work on putting in the new splash well drain tube, which goes in that hole right there. So I've got a flaring tool that we'll use. The first thing I need to do though is put it in there from the inside so that it sticks out, so I know where to cut this at the correct length. So I don't want to risk scratching my new paint. So we'll put it in this way, and I'll mark it on the inside. So I know where to flare it. Okay, so we'll just put a little mark, about a 3/8 of an inch or so, and we'll cut right inside that line. And this is the flaring tool that we will use to secure that in place. And FedEx is here. Okay, so back to this. We've got our line marked here, so we'll push this back out. So we're gonna cut this tube with a tubing cutter just on the inside of that mark, and then we'll get the flaring tool out. Super simple. It just uses a socket and a wrench to flare the end. Okay, we've got our drain cut down to size. I'm gonna put a little bead of just regular window sealant around this, and this is gonna squeeze out, so we'll just wipe it off when we get it down there. I'm doing a pretty good job of making a mess, which is pretty much normal for me. And I'll do the same thing with silicone, or yeah, I guess it's silicone. Okay, then this just comes apart. Slide all that off. Bolt goes in that side. It slides back on. Goes inside. We put our washers on. Put that on. Yep. Just realized the shank of the bolt is too long, so I need more washers. Now we just tighten this down until it flares. Get the camera turned around here, and there we can see we have a new splash well drain with a bead of silicone around the inside. Okay, so that's now done. I know they don't match, but not concerned about it. This one is in front of the engine, so you'll never really see it. So, but yeah, that's all there is to installing a splash well drain or a drain tube. So now I go to the hardware store, get me some rivets. Back to work on the trim piece. Got a new rivet puller and the correct rivets. I wasn't even thinking before, but those rivets that I was going to use were steel rivets, and I need to use aluminum rivets in this case. So get the holes located here, and because of the paint, yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of drilling to get those in there. So let me get the holes drilled out. Got the first hole drilled out here. So I'm going to set this first rivet, and what I'm going to do with each one of these is dip them in some outdoor acrylic caulking, just like that, because each one of these holes would allow access to water down into the new transom. So, a little caulking around each one, and we won't have to worry about that. All right, what do you say we do a little fast forwarding? Okay, got the transom trim piece back on. I put on the gunnel guards, I guess is what I'll call those. And everything is looking good. You might have noticed in that when I was fast forwarding, there was one pesky rivet right here that didn't want to release the mandrel, but just used a pair of pliers, bent that off. And then didn't video putting on the ones on the back side here, but those were all put back in place as well. It is the next day, and I've got some more hardware put on. I decided not to video installing all this hardware. It's literally just installing screws, nuts, and bolts, and I think that's probably kind of boring. So, but I put on a different mount for the stern light or all-around light. So this came off of a 1958 White House Lark liner that I had for a short while. So I had two extra holes here that I had to fill, so I just dropped some screws down in those with some I think those are Hillman washers. So holes are filled, new stern light, all-around light mount that is wired for the bulb. I got cleats put back on. I put the engine reinforcement plate on the back there, I guess that's what you call it. And the steering cable pulleys are back in place on both sides, as well as a new pass-through for the engine wiring and engine control cables. And then I put the trim piece back on all the way around the cockpit. That's just a press fit. So you just kind of put it up in place, tap it up there with a hammer. I used a rubber mallet to get that put back in place. And unwrapped the helm. It was still covered in painter's tape. And then I got the cleats put back on the front of the boat. Oh, also put the rub rail bow plate back on. So it's looking really good. Really happy with the way this is turning out. It's looking fantastic. Thanks for watching this episode of the Wisco Boater channel. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, send me some comments, and if you want to be notified when I post new videos like this one, hit that notification bell. We'll see you next time. Happy boating, everybody.